I've used my 11-year-old E92 M3 as my daily car for a year now, so what's it been like? Have the repair costs ruined me? And what gadgets have I never used? So, this time on Road and Race, what it's really like living with an M3.
When I got this car, I was looking for something practical that I could use every day, but then also something I could take to the track.
So after a long search, I found a well looked after 10-year-old M3 for about £20,000.
So now that I've had the car for about a year and done about 6,000 miles, I'm more than happy to report that the car has completely lived up to expectations. Day to day, it's easy to drive around town, but get on a B road, then it's just incredible fun. The engine makes a great sound, and so does the exhaust. It's got nice soft brakes and clutch, so the car doesn't become too tiring.
It's a beautiful car with its flared wheel arches and bulging bonnet, and I still find myself looking back at it after I've parked it.
Having done 80,000 miles, it's a testament to this car's build quality because it still feels like new. There's no creaks or rattles, the steering is still pin sharp, and the gearbox still slots in really nicely.
On the track, it's extremely capable. It's got 400 horsepower, so you know, a lot. But the driving aids stop you having too much of a moment when you're just starting out.
The traction control has 3 settings, so when you get used to the car, you can start reducing it down to until it's finally off. And that's where most of the fun is. Finding the balance between the amount of grip and power and the control you have is what's fun on the track.
This car came with the optional EDC suspension, which allows for 3 stiffness settings. The hardest setting being ideal for the track, as it massively reduces body roll and allows you to give it more in the corners.
This is a fairly expensive car, but you do get adjustable traction control, adjustable suspension and a limited slip diff. So you do get everything you need to track it straight away.
I thought the single piston brakes would be a problem, but put suitable brake pads in and on track they stop the car very well.
Saying that, there are a few things I don't like.
Why only 2 seats in the rear, not 3? Whilst the front seats are fully adjustable, including lumbar support, it's not that supportive on the track. Every time I get in the car to go somewhere, this happens. Get used to filling up a lot because this car is thirsty. The V8 engine does about 26 miles per gallon on the motorway and 16 in town.
Has maintenance and catastrophic failures cost me a fortune? Well, let's go through the receipts. Starting with the maintenance items, I've got £34 for coolant. There's no date in the service history as to when that was done, so I just thought it's worth doing. I changed the oil and the oil filter, which was £120. This is after roughly 7,000 miles. BMW's oil change interval was almost double that, but you know, I like to change oil a bit more frequently than that. I also changed the power steering fluid, so 2 litres of that was £26. And the car didn't come with any leaf grills to stop, you know, the leaves getting, you know, behind the bonnet. So that was £10. I should mention tyre wear at this stage. At the rear, I've used about 3mm of thread, and at the front about 2mm. Now that's after driving 6,000 miles and having done 3 track days. At that wear rate, the rears would need changing every 2 years or so. Now I've not had to replace the tyres yet because there's still plenty of thread on them when I bought them, but this is this car's biggest expense really. Just looking around, because these are 19-inch wheels and it's a 265mm size tyre at the rear, huge tyre. Pilot Sport 4S tyres, which is really the tyre I would go for on this car, are £240 each, which is pretty ruinous really. So that is a huge expense, and the fronts aren't much less at £195 each. This is the fitted price, so there you go. Obviously you can get budget tyres, you know, you can get Nankangs for £60. It's probably quite dangerous to fit those on a car like this. I imagine the grip levels, especially in the wet, would be poor. Don't know. I'm just guessing, but you know, usually get what you pay for. Looking around other premium brands, the Continental Conti Sport 5s and the Bridgestone RE050As, kind of your mid-range premium brands. They're about £100 a tyre less. and probably offer the same kind of performance, you know, would be sufficient for most drivers. So I've been quite fortunate that nothing's gone wrong, but looking through the car's service history, things have failed in the past. For instance, the stability control pump failed after about 60,000 miles, and that was replaced at the dealer at a whopping £1,700, enormous. For me though, I would always go down the kind of DIY route, because to rebuild it by a specialist would be £200, and then I'd have a good go at fitting it myself. So all in all, maintenance and repairs so far, over a year, £180, which is pretty good. That brings me on to all the upgrades I've done on the car. It's basically just been brakes so far. I bought Pagid RSL19 brake pads for the track, because you really need something that can take a lot of heat and a lot of punishment, because you don't want to get brake fade on the track. They were a whopping £551, enormously expensive, but they are enormously good pads. And then just to round those off, braided brake lines to replace the rubber ones that were 10 years old, £118. And then trying to change out these braided hoses, I sheared the rear brake lines, so new ones of those were £42. So all in all, upgrading the whole braking system, £718. Now this isn't necessarily necessary if you're not going to track the car, but if you are, it's something to bear in mind. Probably worth talking about the common faults with the car and if they've occurred to me or not. So one of the main ones that people report are the rod bearings in the engine failing. Now this basically causes catastrophic engine failure. I've done an oil analysis, I did a whole video on that, which cost me about £30, and basically they said they couldn't detect any unusual levels of wear in the engine, which basically means that the rod bearings are holding up okay. So pretty happy with that. Another common fault is the throttle actuators, basically the throttle pedal, the thing that lets air into the engine. Again, not failed on me, but one was replaced 30,000 miles ago, so there we are. And also this seatbelt handover arm, the little arm that feeds you a seatbelt because it's quite far away. Again, fine, but that was replaced 20,000 miles ago. It's £60 if you want to buy a new one, and they're fairly easy to fit yourself, so I'm not particularly worried about that one. And just to talk about costs, whilst we're still talking about costs, this car attracts an enormous road tax here in the UK, £535 a year in road tax. So that brings me on to the features and gadgets that the car has that I use and I don't use.
Heated seats. Lovely. The aux input. No Bluetooth audio support, so a cable that plays music and charges your phone is essential. The M button, or the fun button as it should be called. Press this and it transforms the car from a sedate, sensible cruiser into an animal. Comfort open. No need to push the button on the remote, just walk up to the car and pull the handle. So handy. Auto seat belts. You'd think this flimsy bit of plastic would never work, but you know, it nearly always does. If the car is on a flat surface, that is. Park on a slant and you've no chance. Gadgets I don't use. The TV. Yes, this car has a fully working TV. Never use it though. Well, there's never anything on, is there? Cold start. This will preheat the car before you get in. Great, you think? That'll be perfect for winter's mornings, as you can schedule it to come on. Thing is, I don't drive to work and only use the car ad hoc, so I never schedule it. Voice recognition. The handbook lists a number of commands you can give the car. It usually goes something like this though.
Telephone.
Telephone.
Call.
Main menu.
Telephone. Telephone.
Telephone.
Call.
Please enter the name.
Terry. Terry.
Would you like to be connected to Terry?
Yes.
I didn't understand you. Please repeat.
So summing up, I think this is the perfect all-round car. It's comfortable and practical day to day, but also if you find yourself on a B road or a track, it's an absolute performance powerhouse. Look around, try and find yourself a good one, and hopefully like me, you won't find that repair costs are that high. although obviously there's always a potential for something disastrous to go wrong. And also bear in mind, fuel costs are extremely high in this car, but I guess that's the price you pay for the performance.
When ready, the next episode will be available by clicking the top right box. If you want to watch all my M3 videos, you'll find the playlist by clicking the box in the bottom right. Also, if you want to see more M3 videos from me, please subscribe, like and hit the share button to share this video on social media. Thanks for watching.